Hello and welcome to Heart Standard. We are finally out of makeup and able to come to you live. Sorry to keep you all waiting. We made a little bit of a boo-boo there with the scheduling time. But we're here now and we're going to look back on the last month and dish out the monthlies, the monthly awards that we give out at this point every month. The best player, the biggest surprise, the unsung hero, and room for improvement, which a couple of which, I don't know about you, Joe, who is with us today, but I found a couple of these quite difficult.
So, peek behind the curtain. Yeah, it was me that set up the video. I put 4:30 on the Twitter, Facebook, and Blue Sky, but I did not. I put 4 o'clock on the video, so apologies for that. As I was not deciding which baseball cap to wear, as Wee Man Wandro said, and I was not doing my hair. Thank you very much. I was just made an arse of the timing when setting the video, so apologies for that. And in terms of my workload, I have not come up with the answers for these 4 awards, so I'm going to be winging it as we go. So I'll keep you on your toes.
You certainly will. You certainly will. Thanks everybody for joining us. Please get your comments in, as many of you have, although a lot of it is about just waiting for us to come online so far. But there are a few usable ones in there so far. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you like what we do, get over to heartstandard.co.uk or you can download our app. Heart Standard is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. Now, Joe, first of all, before we get into the individual monthly awards, what a month. Other than a tiny little stumble at St Mirren, which we can maybe talk about in more detail later. I think in the context of the season, it's still a good result. It's been a cracking month of results. Yeah,
absolutely. When you were offered, or when we started the month, and this is in keeping with the season, that if you were offered the points that Hearts picked up, in this case 10 out of 12, you would have absolutely taken 10 out of 12, considering there was away trips to both Kelly and St Mirren, 2 of the trickier away trips, and then you had home games against Hibs, who we failed to beat last season, and Celtic, who we failed to beat last season as well. So it was a very good month. And in terms of the big games, and I kind of wrote it in the piece put up on the website today, where you've got the big games like the statement wins, Hibs, Celtic, same as Aberdeen, same as Rangers, that there was kind of no luck involved, or fluke involved. It was very much deserving of the 3 points. So yeah, it's a really, really good month where really two big home wins that fans very much enjoyed, and a really good away game and an away day with the win at Kilmarnock, and a come from behind draw at St Mirren. It was a good month's work.
Beep Bop Beep says St Mirren was a great point. Look at what they did to Motherwell. Jim Ogg says St Mirren was a stumble at the time, but we'll look back in the same way we now look at Motherwell. Paul Sinclair says Dell manager of the month again. That's hard to argue with. Beep Bop Boop, although I don't know. I haven't considered all the other ones, so it seems like it from my biased opinion. Beep Bop Boop also comes back and says lots of teams will drop points in Paisley, and I think that's a good point, Joe. Very, very rarely do even Rangers and Celtic go invincible and win a league. And we're not talking in the context of Hearts winning a league here, but can't get too greedy. And in the context of the season, the draws are perfectly good points given all the other points that have been picked up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
2 draws, I said. I don't know if I said that correctly. I was referring to the 2 draws.
Yeah, absolutely. The 2 draws are, when you break it down, were really good points. And what I would say is, like, you're looking back, this is more like over the course of a season. Is there any results we were undeserving of?
No,
Like,
that's where I think the season's been really impressive, is that there was a lot of talk at the start of the season about character and digging it out for the league games anyway, because we weren't talking about scintillating performances. But now I feel like in recent times we're talking about, I mean, maybe with the exception of Hibs, I think Hearts were still the better team in that game, but it was a bit of a
and
slog.
tried to win it.
Yeah, they were the team trying to win it, and like they absolutely destroyed Kilmarnock, and they were more than dominant in that second half against Celtic. And then I know this isn't part of the month we're talking about, but then there was just like a very convincing win against Dundee as well. And it feels like the performances, the results have maintained, but the performances have improved as the season's progressed. I mean, who knows where it goes from there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's like even like there's games where Hearts have won it late on, notably Dundee United, but I thought better side than Dundee United. The Dundee United, in a way, were gifted the goals. Livingston again was a pretty even first half, and then the changes had a really strong second half. Rangers are very dominant away performance at Ibrox. Motherwell, yes, I think that was probably more of a game of two halves, but then you're coming away from Tynecastle thinking, we could have won that. I disagree with this. No, I do disagree with it and agree with it. Yes.
Either way, I think it could be. Yeah. I think they were lucky and unlucky, and it goes for both teams.
Yeah, just with the disallowed goal, probably technically correct, but other than a 25-minute spell, I still thought Hearts created more than enough to win the game. Thought Hearts created the opportunities to win the game, and again, the longer that game went on, you're thinking Hearts are going to win this. So, yeah, but I do understand, Stu, what you're saying. I kind of disregarded the VAR decision that went our way. But again, you could make a strong argument that was the correct decision.
Just before we do go on to the awards, Neo Jambo says, when does it get announced the manager of the month? I mean, it's any time now, really. I mean, they could wait until the international break. They sometimes do
Probably will, yeah.
It just depends on when the sponsors get together and make the decisions, basically. So it could depend on planning and like what's available and who's available and things like that. Right, let's get into the meat of the show. Best player. I've whittled it down to 6.
Give me your shortlist.
Halkett.
Yep.
Beningame.
Yep.
Devlin.
Yep.
Kizaridis. Braga and Shankland.
Yep. Yep.
That's, I mean, you could make arguments for a couple more, I reckon, but I wanted to keep it as a short list. I mean, that's more than half a lineup.
Yeah.
Half a lineup that's not changed throughout the month of October.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's I should have got this up earlier, but I'm trying to think of the so obviously the Heart Standard sponsors the club's player of the month, and they put it up, and their 4 were, I think, Devlin, Kizaridis, Braga, and Halkett. I think Kizaridis won it by or was winning it by a fair amount, and you can. I don't think, in the best way possible, I don't think there was a standout. You're looking at Halkett, who was excellent against. He was excellent against Hibs. He was absolutely brilliant against Hibs and won it. Scored a goal against Kelly. Had strolled it against Kelly. Solid against Celtic, but then.
That block at the end against Celtic stopped any thought of a fight back as well. It was just sorry.
Yeah, absolutely didn't. And then St Mirren was a wee bit messy, but I think it was messy collectively. Kizaridis is just, I talked about this before, but he's just a moments player. Came up with loads of big moments. Then Braga just like scoring goals, and Shankland just goes under the radar. Beningame. He immediately came to mind as like the best player, but then I was taking into account the game at the weekend. But I can't do that because
that's it.
The Dundee. Oh no, actually trying to think. Did I write about him? You know what? I'm going to go for Benny because I do. I remember writing in about him in the instant analysis after the Kelly game, the Celtic game, and the St Mirren game, and we'll have something going out next week about Benny and Cammy and their midfield partnership with some insight from Dennis McInnes. And the more you watch them, is it feels like they're, and this is backed up in the stats, that they're being more direct and quicker and progressive and forceful with their passing. And I think that was always going to be really important for them to fit into what Derek McInnes wants from his centre midfield duo. And it does feel like, I think the eye test matches up with what you can see in the stats, and that they are being a lot more positive with their possession.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not going to disagree. I think Benny's a good shout. You're right. He's popped up in the instant analysis quite frequently in recent weeks. So I think that's a good shout. If we are looking for a standout, I think that's the closest we're going to get. I was going to go for Shankland, so I suppose this would be a good point. I tell you what, I'll bring in a couple of comments and then we'll talk about Shankland getting back into the Scotland squad. So SB says, I think Craig Halkett should be called up into the Scotland squad on a similar theme. Plus video's not working. That must have been a wee bit earlier. Where was it? Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's just so many that are I've got favoured. Braga, Shankland, and Kabori are 3 goal machines, 9 points clear, 11 goals. Life is good. That's from Beep Bop Beep.
There's a few. Sorry, there's a few Harry Mills. So I'll let you read out that one.
I know what he's got, and then a 2 for another player. Harry Milne, Dougal says Harry Milne was tremendous on Saturday and has done brilliantly out of position. I might give a wee mention for him later in one of the other categories. And then
the only thing is, the only thing is, Harry Milne. Saturday was November, so you can't take it into account. Saturday this one.
We struggled with this a wee bit last month, didn't we? Because we did this after the Derby game, and we were having to discount everything we had just watched in the Derby.
You about to flash up one, but Cammy's Neon Jambo says Cammy's been outstanding. He deserves something. Stu again says Devlin has been consistently outstanding. The attackers always get the plaudits because of their goals, but Devlin's consistency cannot be ignored. And both of those you can't disagree. I can't disagree with that assessment. But you did say, and then Neon Jambo also makes a point. Great to be arguing over who has been the best rather than the weakest. The whole team should get it, and isn't that great? No, the fact that the whole team could practically win best player, great place to be in.
On a similar theme, I had this from earlier, Cal 6, the togetherness in this team is outstanding so far. It really can't be underestimated how important this could be this season, and that does go all the way back to that team bonding and in the summer and getting a lot of the business done early, and then those who've joined since have spoken about how great a group it is and all that kind of stuff. And I know that sometimes players will pay lip service to that kind of stuff, but it does feel sincere. It does feel like there is a real sort of strong bond among the team. Magnuson was saying it again. You can go check out his interview that's on our YouTube channel if you haven't seen that already. But Shankland, spoke about Devlin there, another player who got recently recalled to his national team after a year's absence, or it will be by the time the fixtures roll round. Lawrence Shankland's back in the Scotland squad, and it's kind of deserved. I mean, I think there was people calling for this for the last squad, weren't they? People already saw the form that he was in and were arguing that he should have been in the squad a month ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's Steve Clarke is not the most reactionary of managers. He's it's like there needs to be a large portion of evidence to then back up his decision to include it, but it's certainly deserved. He's a top goal scorer in the league without and he's gone under the radar doing it. I was put out a tweet over the weekend from the Heart Standard account that he's reached 10 goals, double figures, quicker than he did when he scored 31 goals in a season. He's getting back to scoring the different types of goals where he's getting the ones that are in the box, like the poacher ones that are striker goals, like he scored against St Mirren. There is the he's been lethal, well, relatively lethal from the penalty spot. He's he has missed one, but he did the route, followed up with a rebound, and then there was the goals against Falkirk. I know it wasn't this month, and the goal against the goal at the weekend where he's getting
what a finish.
Yeah, those finishes that we know he's capable of, that he can turn a half decent opportunity into a really good chance with his finishing when he's got that confidence.
Ibrox, Had no right to score that. Had no right
absolutely.
to score that from where he was, and to put it in. He had a very, very small target to hit. And then just to chuck in a few other things, there are 3 goals in his last 3 games. He's now reached 100 goal involvements at his time at Hearts. Became the all-time SPFL scorer in recently, overtaking Rory McAllister, lower league stalwart Rory McAllister. And these are a couple of really important games coming up for Scotland as well. This isn't just some sort of experimentation to see if, I mean, I know he's been in squads before and he's experienced and all that kind of stuff, but it's not like he's been called up for like 2 almost like do or die clashes in terms of whether Scotland qualify automatically or not.
Yeah, and it'll be, as a few I've mentioned in the comments, be interested to see what kind of game time he gets.
That's it.
It's always
happened before, hasn't it?
Yeah. Just in terms of, before we move on, in terms of Scotland squad, there's been a couple of comments. McLovin, Halkett, and Finlay are lucky not to be called up. Martin Shields says, I think Milner's banging on the door for a Scotland call up. Do you think? And again, it goes to Steve Clarke, and he is very reticent to just call people up out of nowhere. But do you think there is an argument for any of those 3 players that have been mentioned there? You're on mute.
I thought I was going to sneeze. I've got a wee itchy nostril. I possibly Milne, because I get exactly what you're saying. I think what's against them is, I mean, and I'm comparing them to somebody like Doig, who I don't watch from week to week. I can tell you how well Doig's doing. I mean, I know that he's a very capable footballer. He's playing at a very high level. So I'm not for 1 second going to question his inclusion. But the point that you make is that it feels like a gap has to open up. The Bowie one has... Bowie's not really integrated himself much in the Scotland squad yet, and that probably will happen. It'll take time. He's still fairly young. And that's maybe why he's dropped out. A space has opened up for Shankland. You need spaces to open up for the other ones. And I just feel like people like Milne are too far down the pecking order. It could very well happen. I mean, it wasn't so long ago the likes like Steve Clarke was called up the likes of Andy Considine and Paul Hanlon because of injury crises and things like that. So, I mean, nothing's out of the question. And if he keeps with this form, then he would have to be on the radar. Who were the other 2 you mentioned? Sorry,
Halkett and Finlay.
Yeah, again, I think it's just a matter of time before something opens up there. I would probably say Halkett would be in line before Findlay, but then again, it could be whether, I know that he definitely puts stock in having a right footer and a left footer if it's a back 4. So it may be a case of, again, which one is needed. But I think it all comes down to the 3 of them just whenever they move themselves up the pecking order, whenever a space becomes available. Because you could argue that on form, Halkett should be in there instead of Hanley, but the way Hanley has made himself part of that Scotland team and part of Steve Clarke's Scotland squad, it's not going to happen anytime soon unless he's injured.
That's the way. Biggest surprise.
Yes, sorry, I was just about to. I just realised after that monologue that it was me still presenting. Biggest surprise. I have, well, in a sense, Halkett, because I just didn't expect him to continue to just be so good for so long and to continue scoring goals. Another 2 at the start of October to make it 3 goals in 3 matches. And then the other one I could think of was Kingsley, because I've been pleasantly surprised by how good he has come in, and he was part of that streak of clean sheets. This was one of the ones that I found difficult for a different reason, because I don't think there have been many surprises over October. I think we are familiar with the squad. There's a lot of unknowns that we've only seen snippets of, but I don't think any of them have fallen into the surprise category. I don't know if there's any movement on that from you.
So it goes on from something we talked about in terms of the best player of the month. Probably the biggest surprise is just how well Benny and Cammy have done as a midfield partnership. And that is to say, not because I didn't doubt them. I think individually, I think they're brilliant, and they are two of the best, like, in the defensive midfielders, winning the ball back, recovering. But it was always just that the dynamic within that, and the fact that if you look at the 4 games that Hearts played in October, all 4 were against 3-man midfields, and Hearts went into it with a 2-man midfield. And yes, they got help from, you've got Milne tucking in off the right, you've got the 3 forwards who are putting a credible shift in during their time on the pitch, with the way that they get back defensively, they help out, they put pressure on defence and kind of ease that around Benny and Cammy. But what Cammy and Devlin and Benny have done is absolutely brilliant in terms of being able to control the game, being able to put out fires, which again I think they're 2 of the best in the league at doing. But also going back to what I was saying about how they've evolved their game and evolved in the sense of what Derek McInnes wants from his team. He doesn't want just a lot of control in the middle. He wants the ball in at the final third, and he wants his team to control the game high up the pitch. And Benny and Cammy have bought into that, and what they've been producing. So I probably not the biggest surprise in the fact that they've done well. It's the fact that they've just how effective they've been as a partnership against teams who play a midfield 3.
Yeah, again, on a similar theme to what I was saying about Halkett, I suppose you could argue with Devlin that he's just, because he's had runs like this before, which have then sort of tailed off. But this feels like a sustained run of sort of outstanding form, really. And as somebody said here, Stu, biggest surprise, less yellow cards for Cammy. I'm just having a quick look to see how many he did. 1.
4. Oh, sorry, one in the
over October.
4 of the season, yeah.
But I've gone on Soccer Base, so you can't really go by them. It was just because it gave me a quick visual, but at least going by then, they say he's had 2 this season, so they're obviously missing a couple. Maybe he did have more than 1 in October. I
was just going to bring in, this one is at the end of, Greg says, at the end of last season, there were supporters that would have been happy to see the back of Halkett and Kingsley due to their struggles with injuries. What is McInnes feeding them at Oriam? I think there's 2 good points to this, in that that's a big thing, is that there would have been a lot of people that have been ushering them towards the door, and there was a part of me that thought both would move on during the summer, just because you had Stuart Finlay coming in, you had Finlay and McCart, and then you had Frankie Kent and Michael Steinvender as well, probably missing out another centre back from the top of my head. But you had all these options, all these options, and then you just had to look at Halkett's and Kingsley's availability. But McInnes has been big on both of them. He mentioned about Stephen Kingsley on open goal, and then Halkett has been just such a huge presence at the back. And then in terms of like what is McInnes feeding them at Oriam, I think it's just like good vibes. I think it's just a really good place to be in. He is a really good place to be. He is a man manager. You heard Jody Morris talk about him on like Sky this morning, just about how I think he can connect with players. He's done it, and that's a vibe I got from speaking to players who played with him at Kilmarnock, people that played under him at Aberdeen. You did the same with St Johnstone. That it was no surprise that I think when he came in the building that it's a more enjoyable environment to be in.
What is he feeding them? Good vibes. Jim Ogg says biggest surprise is Kingsley still being an effective left back. I think we'd written off playing in that position. I think some people had, yes, and he's come in and, as I say, been brilliant. So my vote's for Kingsley. You're going for a Benny Cammy pairing?
Yes.
I'll give you the deciding vote then. Are you just going?
Oh no, I'll give it to Kingsley. I think that's a good shout. Since Benny's already got best player, Kingsley can be the unsung hero. Or biggest surprise.
Biggest surprise. And we will now move on to the unsung hero. This is where I was reserving my comments for Harry Milne, because I agree, he's been brilliant. Yes. He almost just about made my shortlist for best player. He was in there before I decided it was too too big. And I felt that Harry Milne has been a player over certain games. And again, this relates to Saturday, even though we're not taking it into account, but I haven't realised how good he's been until I've watched the game back. I think that's been the case with me for Harry Milne. And also the fact that he's played most of the month out of position and still done really well. And one of those contributions that I'm talking about is he wasn't really given a huge amount of credit for Celtic, and he played a big part in the Kizaridis goal.
Yeah, I agree. I'll bring in, I think this is, Harry Milne gets it, but I'll bring in someone else shortly. But Harry Milne, I think everything you said is spot on, and you see a lot that fans mentioned about need to get him away, get him back to left back, or he's the Harry Milne on the right is the experiment is overstayed its welcome, etc., etc. And well, I don't think it's a long-term thing. I do think it's been effective, and like you, I think it was the Hibs game where it was a Celtic game. Watching that game back, you realised he was pivotal in that game. All the key moments in that game, in a positive sense, Harry Milne was involved in. Again, it's just you get a better perspective, like watching the game back, and a better understanding that Harry Milne has been an important player in terms of the success that Hearts have had.
I did have another suggestion, but I'll let you go and see if it's the same as mine.
I mean, I'm going to bring McLovin says Schwallow.
Okay, yeah.
Jim Ogg says Schwallow's the unsung hero. No one seems to be talking about him. Can he catch a ball, but so strong and composed? But Schwallow's the best keeper in Scotland right now. B. Diggle, Schwallow's been class, changed the whole vibe of our defence. I don't think Schwallow's had enough to do, says Neil and Jambo. But yeah, it's Schwallow has been. You look at big save against Celtic, although it came from a poor kick out, a really big save, and then he came up with two really good saves against St Mirren as well. So yeah, there's I think people make a really good point about the composure he's brought to the back line.
My other one, won't go into any detail, but the other one was Ocean McEntee. Just like every week, just puts in a shift. Just a very low maintenance player that always puts in a shift. There you go. Yeah,
there's loads. Yeah,
McEntee. Yeah. A fair few of the comments there coming in for McEntee, but we're going for Harry Milne for that one. Right, we'll go on for room for improvement. Sorry about that. Malfunctioned for a second. This is the other one I found very difficult. If I'm really, really nitpicking, I would say Stuart Findlay, purely based on that performance at St Mirren, but anybody can have a bit of an off night. I still wonder whether that second goal, if there's some sort of shout from Braga, because I still don't know why he looks like he ducks to leave it, but it still comes off his head. I can't fathom what's actually happened there. And Braga's reaction's kind of quite dramatic as well. But yeah, I think if you're being really, really harsh, and I stress really, really harsh, because what other improvement could you want being 9 points clear at the top of the Scottish Premiership in November, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, the only kind of obvious answer is instead of 10 points from 12, 12 points from 12. That's the only real room for improvement. Because I'm just trying to think in terms of individuals or collective bits from the game. There's always like room for like improvement as a collective, but
yeah, it's
hard to pinpoint something, just like other than just saying, just hopefully get better and better and better. So I am very much all ears for some of the from fans who are watching this to commenting whether they're doing it in the YouTube comments after we've done this live or just now. So Stu says room for improvement. Schwallow to be stronger at coming for crosses.
There's a fair few dodgy kickouts as well. Again, if you're sort of nitpicking, but I loathe to criticise anybody too much in this team at the moment. I'll fire through some other comments. We'll do a quick fire, Joe, if possible, and then we'll maybe have a look to see if anybody's got any other suggestions for room for improvement. Right, J8MBO or whatever he wants that pronounced. Can you shed any light on the Chesnikov deal? Michael Stewart suggested Hearts are already paying his wages. Any insights on it being in doubt? You covered this for the website yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think people was talking about some of the tabloids, but it's actually come from Kazakhstan and just reports in Kazakhstan. It does seem a bit murky on that side, but the Hearts are comfortable with the situation. He signed a pre-contract agreement, so as soon as his contract with Tabol ended, he is the Hearts player. So he is scheduled to come in December and begin to train ahead of registering. So while he's signed a pre-contract with Hearts, he can't officially register, but that's more of a registration to be able to play official games, and that will happen as January 1st. So Hearts are still planning for him to be here in December, no change, and get up and running in January. And I think if all going well, his first game could be home to Livy, I think, off the top of my head.
And in a nutshell, you could answer this one. Brian O'Rourke asks, what's the situation with the possibility of a goalkeeper going to Killie? This was another headline from yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, a dog being a pain.
Hello.
I'm not sure there's any. What's the word? Any finalisation on anything, but basically Killie are in a desperate. Killie are in a desperate situation. Sorry, the dog has climbed on the table.
It's just done it again. You got away with it the first time, but you are on mute now.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, there we are.
I was reading and the dog climbed off the couch onto the table or just staring me in the face. Sorry about that. So basically, Kilmarnock are in a desperate situation. Max Drake, their number one goalkeeper, is out for 16 weeks because there's a medical issue and he's having to go through a kind of recovery and treatment plan. So Killie took out an emergency loan from a Celtic goalkeeper. However, they play Celtic this week, so that keeper can't play. And if anyone watched the Falkirk highlights, then they can maybe say that they could do with an upgrade at goalkeeper. So Kilmarnock reached out to Hearts regarding Xander Clark, and I think Hearts are kind of reluctant with Xander Clark just because he's already played, and I think the idea was like it might, if he was to play for Killie, then it might have an impact on him going out on loan in January potentially. Don't think Craig Gordon is not an option because Hearts don't want to be in the lurch where if there was an injury to Schwallow, then they would want to go back to their second choice at the moment, who is one of the best goalkeepers, if not the best goalkeeper to ever play for Hearts. So then there was an option for Harry Stone. Hearts want Harry Stone to play competitive football. However, that was hampered during the summer because of the injuries to Ryan Fulton and to Craig Gordon. So it's up in the air at the moment. But that's not it's not a massive issue on the Hearts side because it's Schwallow's doing so well and there's Craig Gordon there.
Stu says thoughts on the starting 11 against Dundee United.
Wait till Friday.
That's something that's what I was just about to say. That's something that we'll cover in a video later on in the week. Nicholas Wright says interesting stats. We've had at least 11 shots on goal every single league match, and the majority we've had around half of those on target. More of that, please. And then there's a couple about Carjota. Beep. Bop, boop. I'd like to see Carjota get a start. He's nothing but great every time he comes on. And if I could just find the other one quickly, wee man Wanjo says Carjota looking a bit more beefed up as well. That was something that I noticed when he came on the pitch on Saturday. I don't know if I was imagining it. I don't know if you thought the same, Joel. The rest of the comment just says he was quite slight when he first came in, which could explain the lack of minutes earlier in the season.
So Carjota, there is a belief that he is going to be, he's got great potential and a really exciting player, and that he will be a big player for Hearts in it's the coming weeks or the coming months. But it was that adaptation period where he is having to get used to the robustness of Scottish football, both just well, it's day-to-day training or the game where it is quicker, more physical. You look at, for example, Ocean McEntee. He's played in the lower leagues in England, and he's like, the physicality is exactly the same. There's no issue with that. But he says when you've got the ball, you've got no time, absolutely no time. Everything's quicker, everything's more intense, and I think that you have to. That's only heightened when you come from abroad. So it will take a wee bit of time, but I have full belief that we'll get to see Kajota more often and more prominently in the coming weeks.
Yeah, he's another one of the ones that's sort of next in line, isn't he? And then going back, just to finish off, going back to our room for improvement, Greg suggests nitpicking here, but should we be expecting more from our right back? Borch putting more pressure and getting into the starting lineup. I think Borchgrevink's just been a wee bit unlucky and maybe a victim of circumstance since he's come back. I think there was a place for him when he was available and then when he first got injured. And I think just now he has to bide his time because, and you can maybe explain it a bit, elaborate on it, but just the makeup of McInnes's bench, he's been settled on it for various reasons recently.
Yeah. So
it's nothing necessarily to do with anything Borchgrevink's doing.
Yeah, he's obviously been out injured. Then I think he had an illness, and then he's been training and just waiting for his opportunity. McInnes would have liked to. He would have played a bit on Saturday.
Yeah,
but Shankland took a knock, and I didn't realise at the time. But it was only when I was watching the game back, he got a real bad one on top of his foot. Nothing too serious, and so that change had to be made. Borchgrevink is. So the big key thing with that was Steinwender started, whereas Steinwender's been on the bench and he covers right back and centre back. So it gives you a better balance on the bench that this is a guy who can cover two positions. McInnes said recently that he wants two defenders, two midfielders, two forwards, but I think he can have slightly more. So then it's just padding it out. So you don't want too many defenders on the bench, but yeah, that's the situation with the right back. As we've seen, McEntee's been pretty solid. Fits in with the kind of identity for the team at the moment.
Yeah, he's just a bit more of a specialist position, Borchgrevink, isn't he? A bit less sort of flexible than a few other players. And you've started another one, so we'll finish on this.
I've got three, but they're like one word answers.
I only go right.
Sorry. Asked, where do you think Wilson will be playing in February? At the moment, I'd be surprised if he doesn't go out on loan. He's at an age where he needs to be playing regular football. Thought he would have been more involved, but then you look at the options Hearts have, and the guys are scoring goals, so kind of circumstances have changed. Do you think Benny will be away in January? No. And what's happened with Khartoum was probably the only highlight of Critchley's time. Again, just while not being a bad player, just doesn't fit into McInnes's plan. If you look at the starting 11, where would you play him? Loads of midfielders. Probably doesn't have the pace and power to play out wide, so it's difficult to get him in the team.
Yeah, like Kajota more McInnes inside right than Khartoum is, I suppose. And when Khartoum was played the few times by McInnes, I think there was one time at wing back, and then was it in the centre of midfield they played one game as well. So yeah, he's just a player signed by a different manager, but for a different manager, and
these things happen. These things happen.
Exactly, that's it. Right, that'll be us. Thank you to everybody for getting involved. There was tons of comments. Thanks to everybody for hanging about in the first place to even comment and get involved. No, it's all good. To get involved in the discussion. There came a point where I just lost track. There was just far too many. But thanks for everybody for keeping us going with all those.
I'm not going to answer that. I just wanted to flash that up.
Please get over to heartstandard.co.uk if you haven't already. There's plenty stuff going up there. We've got quite a few analysis pieces. Joel put up one today about the reasons behind why Hearts are top and clear at the top of the Scottish Premiership. I've got a couple of articles coming out over the coming days, which I'm quite happy with. I've not quite finished them yet, but one's going to be looking at set pieces. Oh God, you might have to help me here now, Joe. What's the other one about?
Aberdeen.
Oh yeah, comparing it to Hearts are pretty much at this stage last season. Aberdeen were unbeaten after 11 games, and then they weren't after that. We all know how it played out, and I am working on an article about comparing those two and why I see the Hearts one as much more sustainable. So keep your eyes out for them. Please give this channel a wee subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you all again soon.